about wedding photography, mainly how to get into it, how to make a success of it, and the pitfalls. And if you aren't aware that I am a wedding photographer, I've been a wedding photographer for many years. I was a second shooter before that. I edit for wedding photographers who are maybe a bit overwhelmed or just need to do a bit more time management. I do that. So I am pretty good at understanding what wedding photography needs to be about, but I also teach social media marketing. Okay, I'm going to break this down into sections. So section 1 is kind of going to be around the equipment, and I'm going to talk pretty openly and direct about this. I don't care what brand of camera you use. Genuinely, I really don't give a crap. I saw an amazing guy a couple of years ago shooting on an iPhone of all things. I don't recommend doing that, but I genuinely thought his images were great, but it's very much a niche and I wouldn't recommend that. But in terms of everything else, I don't care if you're Nikon, Leica, I'm Nikon, I don't care if you're Fuji, I really don't care. I don't even care if you have a crop sensor full frame. I genuinely don't, because some of the crop sensor stuff I've seen on Fuji is just incredible. And I really don't think it matters. But what you will need, and this is my opinion, but one of many, many photographers, is that you need 2 cameras. And more importantly, you need to shoot on a dual card slot. And you might think, why? Well, that's because if one card corrupts, you have another one. Why do you have 2 cameras? Because not only can you have 2 different focal lengths on each camera, but also in the event that something goes wrong, you have that second camera body. Believe me, I've seen things go wrong. Now, I don't think you need to be too worried about perhaps, but I need them to have the same spec. And you might go, yes, you do, Khandie. Here's the thing. I know many people who switched over to the mirrorless, got one mirrorless and used their old digital SLR as their second camera body. There is no shame in that. What I will say is perhaps make sure they are similar quality, but genuinely, it's not a huge deal. Just get yourself 2 camera bodies and work with 2 camera bodies. Now, that also might mean that as accessory-wise, you're going to have to get some sort of way to hold them. I'm not a fan of just using the straps. I use a holster. Sorry, I'm lying. I use like a... Well, yeah, it's a holster, one that supports 2 cameras. I also have like my hand sanitizer attached to it and sun cream on a hot day, but that doesn't matter. I have those. I mean, there's many around. There's loads of leather ones. Mine is made actually of parachute cord because it's just something that fits my aesthetic, and I had it made for me, and I love it to pieces. I do have it as a 2-point connector. If you look at some of my Instagrams and stuff, and you'll see me using it there. In terms of lenses to use, now this can cause huge debates online. Lenses, I personally would always say have 1 prime lens on your camera, and on your second body have a zoom. Now my go-to at the minute, although it has rapidly changed, is somewhere around a 35 to 50 mil as my prime, and then my other one is a 24 to 70. Now I don't use the f4, I'm on the 2.8. You know, I know the Nikon Z6 II came with an f4, and people have been raving about that as a kit lens. No problem. But I do think for me, those 2 are my sweet spot. 1, I'm not shooting massive cathedral weddings. Now, if I was, I'd probably put the 70 to 200 on. It's not a lens I absolutely love. I think it's heavy, it's obnoxious, and I'm forever knocking it. I'm surprised it's not broken already. But you know, there's nothing wrong with having the 35 and the 50. I mean, I absolutely love at the minute my 40 f2, which is the Nikon mirrorless lens. But having that prime gives me, I can play a little bit more, and I enjoy that. You don't need to have much more beyond that, if I'm brutally honest. If you're just starting out, I do recommend, if you don't have it, don't get into debt, rent one, find the sweet spot for you, what you like. I know somebody who loves just shooting the whole thing on a 35 mil and then has a little bit of a zoom. But what you are going to need to look at getting is some sort of external flash. Your camera flash isn't going to work. You need to look at external flash. Now, I use the Godox V1. It is great price point. I have 2 of them, so I put them on both my bodies. Genuinely get yourself a flash, and if you're really stuck, there is no shame in TTL, okay? Which is where the camera tells you what to do, but really you want to get used to using it. And you also want to make sure you back up with having additional batteries. And I mean on a wedding, I'm probably taking 4 batteries fully charged with me. I take 6 memory cards, and I'm ready to go, okay? And the reason I have that is because I need those backups, right? Even if I'm shooting like a London wedding where I'm running around, I'm not gonna, I need to keep my kit on me at all times. So I do have quite a streamlined kit, of which I would probably be just taking my 24 to 70, maybe chucking in a spare lens, which is my 85 prime, and then my 35, because that allows me to have some depth, and I can still play around and get those beautiful soft backgrounds that I like, but also, you know, I can get precision, and it gives me that versatility, but I'm not carrying around a lot of kit. I do whack in my Omni filters, as you know, but this is when I'm talking about your accessories. Now, some people say get a tripod. I don't really care about a tripod. I don't think I've ever used a tripod. No, I used it once on some blurry shots I had to do. The other thing I would consider is getting a reflector. Now, I have a reflector that packs that into my bag. Perfect. I have a mini reflector that I use for certain things. I've used it maybe 5 times this year at all. You could just use a lens cloth. One of my friends has a white lens cloth that she holds up because it's got duality then for use. Get yourself a reflector, especially for portraits. One of those ones that you can use as diffusing light if you need to. And genuinely, that's what's in my bag. You know, things like this, these road mics, I don't take them to a wedding day. I don't have time to shoot much content for myself other than the odd little clip. I'm very focused on my bride and groom. I just make sure that I have that in my kit. Now, there's going to be loads of people out there going to tell you what you need to do for your wedding kit. My top tips: 2 camera bodies, dual card slots, and you can't go far wrong as a beginner with that. I know people who go, I just shoot with one. I personally don't want to have to explain to my client if, you know, I lose those photos, or God forbid the camera has a fault. And if you remember, I remember there was this massive fault with the D750 where the shutter was going wrong and there was problems with the mirrorless and there was loads of stuff happening. So just do yourself a favor, get 2 cameras, okay? If you can't afford one, rent one, and you need to build that into your prices. We are going to come onto that in a minute, but you need to do that. I cover this section a lot. This is legal and insurance and all that stuff in there. I've covered this a lot in lots of my videos, where I'll link throughout this video about how to run a business, how to sort this out. But you have to have a contract. You need public liability. You need personal indemnity insurance. So you need an equipment insurance. First of all, if a client's unhappy with your work, your personal indemnity insurance is going to save your ass, okay? It can cover your costs. Equipment insurance, get it. All these people who complain about it, honestly, I cannot fathom how you are operating without having this. You need to be insured. I know, like, some option, like, honestly, don't risk it. You might remember back in April last year, I lost my camera. Should we say lost? That wasn't what happened, but I had to have that, and I had shoots rolling in the next couple of days. Luckily, I was able to get the money and get it sorted because I had insurance. No one sets out to lose stuff, but you know, at weddings, I've had kids pour their drinks on me, luckily missing my camera. Imagine if it got my camera. I've had people like knock into me on the dance floor because I'm going into the dance floor. You know, you need insurance. If you're working with people, you need insurance. And you know what? The one time you regret having insurance will be the time something goes wrong and you need it. So get it now. It doesn't have to be expensive. I will just say, this is not sponsored by Policy B, but if you look in the description below, there is my discount for Policy B, which is here in the UK. If you mention Khandie Photography, I believe you get a gift, but have a look at them. They're one of the cheapest around, and they insure me even though I go overseas, and even though I've had a big claim, they carried on to insure me. So I recommend you go and get yourself insurance, okay? Marketing yourself. This could be a huge section. This could be a monumental section. This could be ginormous. There are many ways to market yourself, and I've put some videos up on that as well. But let's talk about it with the basics, the absolute basics. Now, I do have qualifications in marketing, which is quite surprising, but I do a lot of in-depth analytical study on marketing. So first off, you get yourself a website. I don't want to see someone saying, I only have an Instagram, because as we see, Instagrams can get hacked and people can just be like completely have their account removed. Get yourself a website that you are in charge of. Now, there are many places you can get them cheap, like Wix. You can get Squarespace, which is pretty much like everyone here on the whole YouTube stratosphere. I don't have a Squarespace one. Squarespace, if you want to hit me up, we can discuss. There are many ways to get on, but you're in charge of that. That means it will stay up for as long as you pay your bills on it, which is why remember how much this costs you and whack it on the spreadsheet I'm going to tell you to maintain later. Get yourself obviously. Now, one of the things I will just say, and this is where the jury is slightly out, I don't think it looks professional to have like a weddingphotographer@gmail.com. Okay, I don't think it's very professional. It doesn't spark that kind of, hey, I'm a professional business for me personally. Some people may disagree, but I think having a dedicated email that links to your email, to your website is a really good thing to have. Now, when you're in charge of your own website, you can sort of do your branding, and then you can use that to feed into your Instagram, your social medias. You need to get them all singing and looking similarly. So don't be like garish on your website, but then really tame on your Instagram. You know, and make sure you update them. And just remember, certain content works somewhere else. So like, for example, On Instagram, vertical content is kind of more easy to view because everyone's viewing on their phones. And although they've said, oh, we want to have it so people switch to landscape, most people are staying within the vertical sphere. Whereas on Facebook, what works best is actually seems to be landscape with the odd occasion of reels looking on the vertical. YouTube, unless it's long form, which is what this is, it's recorded like this. If it's a short, it has to be the other way. So just remember, you need to alter your content. You don't need to do a lot of content. If you look at my shorts, you'll see that a lot of my shorts appear on my Instagram, and a lot of my Instagram stuff also appears on my Facebook. I just change the orientation and how it looks, okay? But I'm in charge of that. And before you go, I haven't got time for marketing. You actually need to have time for marketing and social media marketing, because that is how you get your business off the ground. Marketing is so important. Otherwise, you're just someone shooting and no one knowing. You need to make time. This is not a hobby. This is a business. And if you're running it as a wedding photographer, you actually need to do this. Okay. So what you start doing is reaching out to people who are suppliers and saying, hey, I'd love to work with you. If you've got any like styled shoots coming up, if you've got something we can do together, commenting on people's work, then your brides and grooms are going to find you and see you that way because they see your name being bounded around. They get the message of you. But you need to have this in place, because when someone goes looking to book you for a wedding, which is an absolute, like a huge emotive day for them, but also it's probably one of the most expensive days of their life, bar perhaps buying a house, they are going to be looking for red flags, and the internet bombards people with information on what to look for as a red flag. And people are now becoming very, very savvy. So you need to not just rely on having an Instagram, okay? Make sure you have a website that is yours and you own it and you can direct people to it. And the other thing I feel like is pretty much forgotten is in-person networking. Go to wedding fairs, attend wedding fairs. Now, I have a hit and miss with wedding fairs, I will say. Some of them are not marketed very well, and some of them are in locations perhaps I don't think my ideal client would be. But that doesn't mean you can't go to business networking events. That doesn't mean you can't go to events to meet people. And it's not just, remember, you don't go to a wedding fair to meet brides already, because the wedding fair, unless you're set up selling your stuff, going there and just walking around hoping you meet brides isn't going to work. You need a stall there. But if you want to meet people, what you do is you start perhaps getting into those Facebook groups that are aimed at families, because families have brothers and sisters who may be getting married. And once you've done a family shoot, you might find yourself recommended. There's one couple who I've worked with that I met because I did their massive family photo shoot. They then got hired me for a surprise engagement. Then I did the official engagement shots. Then I did the wedding. Then I did the 1 year anniversary. Then I did the pregnancy announcement. Then I did the gender reveal. Then I did the baby pictures. Then I did first baby night. I did all of those. I have made thousands off of that one connection. Okay. So get out there and network, because it's difficult. Be in person, make comments. If you're not very extrovert, okay, do it online. Get in those Facebook groups, talking to brides and grooms, giving advice, sharing your content with them. And if you haven't got any content, you've got knowledge. You can share things. Like, I write blog posts about how to spot a scam wedding photographer, and people go mad looking at it. I write things about simple poses for when it's raining and things like that, and people go mad about it, right? They share it and they go around. You could write things in your blog post that has an evergreen quality to it. So I think that's a great tip, by the way. So have a look at doing that. And that's before you've even started shooting weddings. Nobody likes talking about money unless it's money they're earning. But we're going to talk about cost of doing business, sometimes seen online as CODB, cost of doing business. And this is where a lot of wedding photographers in particular fall foul of and actually end up destroying their business over it. So cost of doing business is literally everything you pay out to do what you do before you even click that shutter. And you might think, what? Hosting your website, your phone bill, your insurance, your client management software, which we're going to get onto in a little bit, right? Everything like that. It's even your travel, your extra car insurance, because you need to have business insurance on your car if you're here in the UK. It's your cost of invoicing, your bank charges, your fees if someone pays by PayPal, all of that. And, just all of that. Your telephone bill, I've probably done that, your internet bill, all of that. And that's just running it. Before you even, just to have it on a daily basis, how much you need to make, everything. You need to know this. And what I do is I keep a spreadsheet, and every time a bill, I get told that the price increase, I whack that in. So I have a running total of what it costs. And then I have a breakdown of what I need to make every month and then down to every week, just to break roughly even throughout the year. So I know that's what it is. Then when I buy products in, say for example, I know that my wedding album is X amount of money. I know that I'm not billing my client that money for it. I'm also billing the cost of getting it in, the cost of creating it, the cost of posting it out potentially, the time spent, the delivery of it, all of that. And then that's how I build my packages up. And then I know what my minimum earning time is. I know how much my images need to be, how much time I physically spend, because a shoot for an hour isn't just a shoot for an hour, is it? It's an hour of prep and doing all the like questionnaires and running stuff, and it's using your client management software to email them and log their data and everything like that. And then it's showing up and it's doing the shoot, then it's going home and it's culling, it's editing, and that one shoot suddenly becomes a 4-hour, 5-hour shoot, and you need to account for that money. So maybe you aren't doing the £50 shoots anymore. This is where it comes to pricing yourself. So I'm going to be very careful. There's a pricing strategy in how you price yourself versus the cost to you and what you price them to your client. So the cost to you is how much it, like for example, a wedding album. Say a wedding album costs you £100. It doesn't. A wedding album costs you £100. You don't sell it for £100 because to get that album into your house or into your studio, you have a hidden cost. Now, if you were to replace that album, you would be there going, well, it's £100 to replace it. You make nothing off that, right? You need to be able to make a profit on that and replace it in the event that you need to. So my logic, what we were always told was whatever the print product is, the physical product, it's 3 to 4 times what it costs to have. Using that principle, you might find that actually you're pricing yourself very low, because in the event that something happens, you need to be able to replace that but still make a small profit on it. But I'm going to sneeze again. I had to pause earlier for a sneeze, so hang on. You want to offer a high value item for a better price. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I look at it. Remember, photography is seen as a luxury thing to have, so it needs to have that air of luxury. There are lots of people trying to chase to the bottom barrel. There's a guy literally used to be down the road from me in my own studio who would charge £100 for a 2-hour photo shoot, and every single image was given to you there and then. There was no editing done, nothing. And I had so many of his clients come to me and ask me to reshoot, and they were shocked at my prices, but they actually said, say for example, one of my clients, she bought 5 and she said, okay, now I get why you're the price you are. And like, she was showing me his work and it was okay, but you know, there was the blinking ones, there was the ones with the blur on, and it was just run and gun. But imagine he was shooting for 2 hours. I earn more than him in a quarter of the time. And we've come around to this bit, and I know you're probably like, yeah, but Khandie, how do I actually become a wedding photographer? Okay, so there's something about building your portfolio. I need to scratch my nose, sorry. I would say a lot of people run off and be a second shooter, and I still think that's quite a big step if you've never been involved in weddings. You might have attended a few weddings, but being involved in a wedding is a little bit hard. One of my tips would say, try and ask to be an assistant first before you become a second shooter. If you're going to be a second shooter, you need 2 cameras anyway. So if you haven't quite got that, go be an assistant. Assistant is somebody who kind of assists the photographer without having the responsibility of taking the pictures. So you kind of get to see how they work. You can help with holding reflectors, changing lights around. Give you that little bit of education if you've never been at a wedding, you've never shot a wedding, and you're still quite new to photography. Gives you an idea of just how hard work it is. And I hate to say it, some of you might go, this is too much effort for me, I can't get involved. And I think that needs to happen more, because people honestly think it's really easy to shoot wedding. You are on your feet 9, 10, 11 hours a day, rushing around, barely getting to the toilet, barely eating. You know, you have to run, you're thinking on your feet the whole time. There's always someone in your ear going, hey, you want to do this shot, that shot. I did a wedding recently where 3 people kept directing me where to shoot, and I was like, I just need to get this shot done. Please let me get it done. Okay. So volunteer to assist with a pro. Then I would say, if you're not, if you're going to go like, I'm an absolute beginner assistant, then volunteer to, or then look to be a second shooter when you've got a little bit of knowledge and you've got a bit of experience behind the camera, shooting other things. Now, if you already had experience, then definitely just go straight to second shooting. And this is where you need to be paying huge attention to what your main photographer is doing. Like, have 100% looking at what he's doing and going, do you know what? I completely can see where they're posing people, how to do that confetti shot, where they need to position, what light they're looking for, why are they posing there? Okay, the light, that's what they're looking for. And then and do quite a few of these. So many people do 1 or 2 second shoots and they're like, right, that's it, I'm done. No, you need to have like at least 1 disaster wedding. And I hate to say this, like not disaster, but like you need to see the problem solving side of being a wedding photographer. I have had it a few times where the makeup artist messed up and the foundation had to be redone, or a dress got ripped. We had torrential rain from nowhere. Get used to some of that. Now, you're not going to experience every disaster in weddings, but you kind of want to get used to be able to thinking on your feet. And then please, please, please do this for pay. If you're being a second shooter, that photographer would have billed their clients for you. So get paid for this. Now, it varies across the UK, but it seems at the minute any price between 200 and 450 is somewhere like in that ground in the UK. I don't know what it's like anywhere else, but definitely look on the second shooter groups on Facebook. Have a look. Be honest with what your experience is and what kit you've got, but go at it like this is you sort of trying to get testimonials for you to potentially get for your future clients. So I don't recommend you doing 1 or 2 second shoots. Do quite a few and keep putting your pictures up. Don't just go, hi, I'm available. Show them the work. 'Cause if you can do good portraits, one of the tips is if you can't get into shooting weddings because you're your first time second shooting, go shoot an event like a birthday party, or you know, like a celebration that isn't a wedding, or even just like an engagement party. Go and shoot them, show that you've got strong candids. Because honestly, most second shooters I use are for strong candid shots. And then if they're like, if I need them for groom or bridal prep, I will feed them some ideas of what I like, or I'll show them what I like and say, can you recreate this? If they can't recreate, I won't hire them. But you know what? A strong candid game is going to get you so far. So consider that. Look at your Pinterest. Try and recreate those pictures with people. Get your friends. Like when you're doing shots and you're like doing a fashion shoot, or you're doing like a little Instagram shoot with your bestie, go and recreate like what you would see for bridal or wedding prep. Just get those ideas, you know, fake them if you need to, just so they can see that you have an idea of what you're doing. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with attending styled shoots. But please remember that doesn't make you a wedding photographer. This is a massive uproar in the community at the moment where people are passing off styled shoots as wedding photography and duping clients into doing shoots. And I've had this experience recently where someone's just done a load of style shoots and their wedding photography fell flat on its face. It didn't stand up to it because somebody else is styling them, doing the posing, giving you the compliant models who are posing as bride and groom or groom, whatever it is. And you know, everything's done for you. You're clicking a button and people are advising you how to do it. And then when you get out there, you can't put that into play in the real world scenario. And you know, you need to make it very clear it's a styled shoot. And I don't think you should rely on those. You need to actually interject that with a lot of second shooting, a lot. And then ask your main photographer for testimonials. And if they don't give them, they're a douchebag. I always give them, you know. And obviously there's a thing where, oh, can I ask the client? No. Genuinely, your second shooter contract will probably say you can't make contact with the bride and groom. I know the ones that when I was second shooting told me I couldn't, but perhaps that your main photographer will let you, and that could give you some testimonials. But get testimonials from like your event photography that you do. Maybe there was a birthday bash with your friends. Maybe there was, you know, your auntie was having a 50th birthday, whatever it is, go and get testimonials from them. Get it in. And that's how you start building your portfolio. Do not try and jump straight into second shooting if you have not already been an assistant and have some photograph experience in the event chaos that is weddings. And if you have, because you've done a few events and you're like, I'm ready to be a second shooter, then go do that, but make sure you get paid for it, okay? There's a whole difference between second shooting and just sending everything to your photographer as well. If they're asking you to cull, you should get a slightly higher rate because culling still takes time. Most of my second shooters just dump their cards on me. So I went through a couple of Facebook groups that I was part of, and I went through just reading people's problems and what they were having. And here are some great common pitfalls of wedding photographers in the beginning, and even some pros. So let's start with the most insane one that I find absolutely weird that people don't have is no contract at all. Just a couple of messages if you're lucky on Facebook. Get yourself a contract. Get it detailed, get it signed, get it linked to your invoice. Now, I use a client management software that I've said time and time again, Studio Ninja. There is a link in the bottom. Absolutely superb. Send it out. Clients get a little portal. It's a bit like when you buy your car insurance. All the details are there and they can find it. Go get yourself a goddamn contract. I just don't understand it. First of all, because you need to legally state to people about the GDPR policy, which should be in your contract. If you don't know what GDPR is, we need to go have a conversation separately about that because you should be educating yourself. Being ignorant to the law doesn't make you a great photographer. So go read up, okay? GDPR includes people's images and their data. And their data is their names, their addresses, addresses. You need to have this saved and secure somewhere. So go get some sort of client management software, and that will go into your cost of doing business. And if you start now, it's also an area of professionalism. Start now. Get it sorted now. One that I absolutely hate, because I've had this for myself when I was booking my own headshots: poor communication, poor comms. If you have a client management software, most of them, from what I understand, will automatically email your clients when their shoot's coming up or when they owe you money and they have to pay the second part of their invoices, whatever, right? Get yourself communication, talk to them. If you don't like I would send a little WhatsApp message the week of the wedding, just checking everything's okay. Can't wait to see you at the wedding. Day before, right, see you tomorrow. It's just so they know that I'm in communication with them. I don't like this radio silence. And I see this more and more again in some of the bride groups where people are saying, hey, I haven't heard from my photographer. I hired them 3 months ago. My wedding's in a month. I've not heard from them. Drop them a little message, click them a like on something. You know, it's not a lot to do that, but you should, if you have a client management software, you can see what's coming up and you can put it in your workflow. That's what I have on my Studio Ninja. My workflow tells me, go message Mr. and Mrs. Clark to let them know you're on their way to their wedding, okay? It happens so much, this one. Contingency plans. I'm backing up. So contingency plans are something that makes me laugh quite a lot, because there's so many people who, I'm going to have to be very careful how I say this, who treat their business quite like a hobby, get annoyed when a client doesn't treat them like a professional, and then doesn't have a contingency plan and therefore is not as professional as they expect their client to treat them. A convoluted way of saying, in the event that you are sick, who is going to cover you? You need to have something there, okay? In the event that your camera breaks, you have a second camera. That's your contingency plan, right? Like if 2 cameras breaking is not, but touch wood, my loves, you know. But you need to have a contingency plan, and you need to back up your images. I'm seeing people who are saying that they lost a memory card from a wedding from over a month ago and they're about to edit it and they can't find it. 1, that's a long time to wait till editing. But 2, you didn't back the card up. Why are you just saving it on the card? You need to back it up. Now, my rule in my place is I get home, I back the images straight up onto a hard drive. I keep them on the card. Back them on the hard drive. The hard drive then goes onto another hard drive in the cloud, and I've got one that stays in my possession, right? I then edit off of the hard drive I just backed up to. When I've delivered the images, I format the card so I know that those clients have that card's done with, okay? I back up every single image. It's your choice whether you just back up your finals, but for me, I back things up. Now, things can go wrong and things can get lost, but you know what? I've got those in place, and then I can say to my insurance when it happens, if it ever did, touch wood again, these are my processes. I don't know what went wrong, okay? One that's been quite prevalent in the trends is over editing. And I was a massive over editor. When I first started in being very serious about my wedding photography, one of the biggest color sort of trends was the orange and blue. And it was like this weird, and I look back at those images now and I cry a little bit, because they are just, no. Timeless wedding photography tends to not have a very stylistic look. Now there are people who go for really moody tones and some do light and airy, but those kind of have a longevity to them. Having dynamic color range isn't necessarily got it. But I will say over editing, when you overly smooth things out and you just make it look a little too fake. I'm not saying this is a major pitfall, but it might mean that you're spending a lot of time editing and you're spending hours that you didn't need to, okay? And you're not then accounting for those hours you're spending editing in your final cost. So really look into how much time you're actually editing a wedding. How long is it going to take you to do a wedding? Because that time needs to be allocated for. Missed shots. You need to get from your bride and groom couples what it is that they want to be photographed, what it is they need to be photographed, those little points, those accent points, what is it that they need to be photographed? Because sometimes I see wedding photographers going, oh my God, they're having a go at me because I didn't get this picture great Auntie Maud and she left early in the event. Did they tell you? Well, yeah, but so why didn't you make a note of that? Or, I forgot to get this shot and they're really angry. Did they tell you? No. Then what are you worried about? You need to say, well, you didn't tell me what that shot. That's why I gave you that list. I got all the other shots that you wanted. So, you have a little bit of a get out clause, but don't miss shots. Also, those little lists can help prompt you, because I've seen wedding photographers forget to get pictures of the wedding bands, genuinely, and had to I need to get that picture. What do I do? I just want to say now, I know this is a very long video, so I'm hoping you're going to like and subscribe and comment any other things and if it's been helpful, but let's get on to the rest of it. One of this is about personality, and I am a Marmite personality, and you've already probably realized that. try not to be an obnoxious douchebag at weddings. Yes, it's going to be quite hard to bite your tongue when the DJ makes inappropriate comments at you. That once happened to me at Leicester City Room. It is going to be quite difficult when Uncle Bob with his camera tries and takes every single shot, or when, you know, people step on your feet and knock you and then drag you off to do their family photo shoot, even though you're doing the couple shoot, and people can talk to you quite rudely. You gotta stay professional, but you can stand your ground, but you gotta stay professional. So try not to be too obnoxious and obtrusive, rude to the staff. Just remember, everyone's there doing a job. And you know what? Sometimes it can be hard because you feel crowded. I will say wedding photography is exhausting even for the extrovert in me. So I can only imagine how hard it is for a typical introvert to do the wedding photography, but you got to get thick skin and get in. The amount of times I've been told, are you sure you know what you're doing? Or I wouldn't have done it like this. Nothing I hate worse than that there's another photographer at a wedding who decides to tell me how to do my job, even though they weren't hired, they're just there as a guest. Try not to let those people get to you, okay? If you're good with people, if you're friendly, you're always smiling, honestly, you'll get people. I've got bookings from weddings because of how I am. There was a young child. In fact, I've got a great story with a young child. I have Haribo snacks in my bag for when I'm flagging a bit. And this little kid was like absolutely struggling. He was overstimulated. There was a lot of noise. And the mum was like, I just don't have anything to give him. The sweet bar's not open yet. And I went, I've got something. And I had 2 bags of Haribo and I gave him 1 bag and I had a bag and we sat and shared them for a little bit. And the mum instantly booked me for an engagement session for her daughter, it booked me for her engagement and her daughter's birthday. And then from that, I actually did their wedding. So I know it's quite nice to have that and it's a nice round thing, but just remember, you're being nice doesn't cost so much. And as long as you're the nice person, the professional person, everyone else just like a douche if they act like a douche to you. And the biggest pitfall, the one that everyone goes into, and it is always underpricing themselves. They see someone putting an offer on and they chase it. Stop going to the barrel and getting to the bottom quicker than everybody else. You have to price, that was a terrible way of saying it, but you have to price yourself. You have to understand what your cost of doing business, which is something we went back to earlier. You need to price yourself. I mean, honestly, it really does shock me the amount of people who don't know what their costs are. And your prices should go up every year. They should go up incrementally as costs go up. As you know that when when it's time to update your pricing, when you get your bill in telling you something else is going up. Okay, you know when your gas bill goes up, you need to be going up, yeah? You never go down, you go up. And if you're putting a sale on, only have a sale on for a short amount of time. And I would recommend giving product away than money off, okay? Because you can get in a sticky wicket if someone is like, well, you had a deal that was £200 off, so why am I paying £1,000 when you were £800 last week? You know, for me, give a product away. For a limited time offer, I'm giving a free 10x8 of your wedding day away, whatever it is. That's how I've done it. There's nothing wrong with you doing a discounted sale for a short time, but I'm often seeing photographers running a sale constantly and it's all year. And I'm like, so basically you're not £1,000 package, you're an £800 package because you're running this all year. So there's no one really booking you in for that. So one time, and I don't believe in giving a discount for midweek weddings. I don't know how that gets, I don't know what that's doing. I don't know how that came around because my costs are still the same, whether it's midweek or weekday. So for me, I don't do that. Maybe we can discuss that in the comments. You can tell me why you do it or why you think it was. I know people say, you know, venues are cheap there because they have to fill in. But for me, I'm a full-time photographer. My time is my time. My skill set is my skill set. I hope you found this video helpful. It's a lot of waffle, a lot of talk, but honestly, it's based in my knowledge and what I do. Don't forget to check out all my other videos. I've linked loads. It'd be great to see you in the next video. I tend to bring them out once a week. I try, you know, life's busy, but I am here. So if you could subscribe, like, comment, share your knowledge with people, maybe put in what you learned from your first year wedding photography in the bottom, that would be great. But anyway, check you all in the next video. Take care.